His billionaire boss collapsed against him in the dark parking lot, whispering his name like a lifeline. But by sunrise, as he clutched his daughter's lunchbox, she looked him in the eyes and fired him. Would you have helped her that night? Tell me your thoughts below before we dive deeper. Welcome back, my beautiful family and friends. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one. And you don't want to miss it. The morning the world tilted against him, Evan Carter was running late. Not because he overslept, single dads don't get that luxury, but because Lila, his 7-year-old whirlwind of curls and curiosity, couldn't find her left shoe. Daddy, it disappeared, she insisted, arms crossed, chin lifted with a kind of stubborn certainty only children could pull off. Evan crouched by her, brushing back a curl that had rebelled across her cheek. Shoes don't disappear, ladybug. They migrate, like birds. They usually fly under the couch. Lila giggled, tugging her sparkly backpack up her shoulder. Then we need a birdhouse for shoes. Great idea, he muttered, plunging his arm beneath the couch and triumphantly retrieving a small, glittery sneaker. Here's your migrating wildlife. 2 minutes later, they rushed out the door, Lila still laughing. And despite everything waiting for him at work, the stress, the imbalance, the unspoken tension between him and the woman who employed him, her laughter always made things feel possible. But as he buckled her into the car, a shadow flickered across his expression. Last night's events replayed in flashes he wasn't ready to face. The neon-lit club exit. His boss stumbling into him. Her slurred voice, trembling, saying his name. The men closing in on her like vultures. And him, just one exhausted single father, putting himself between her and trouble. He hadn't slept after that. Not really. He'd carried her to her penthouse, made sure she was safe, left without a word. He had expected, he didn't know what. Gratitude? A simple thank you? Whatever it was, he never got it. Now he was certain she remembered. And he had no idea what that meant. Evan dropped Lila at school with a kiss on the forehead. Be good, he said. Always, she promised. He lingered a second, he always did, before driving off toward Astra's Holdings, the glass and steel empire owned by Sienna Astor, the billionaire CEO, and the woman he rescued last night. The building caught the morning sun like a blade. And walking into it always made Evan feel like he was stepping into someone else's world, one that didn't make room for men who packed school lunches and worried about overdue bills. Inside, employees hurried across the marble lobby, all sharp suits and sharper ambitions. Evan adjusted his slightly frayed tie, squared his shoulders, and took the elevator to the 39th floor. His job wasn't glamorous. He was executive support, basically a glorified assistant. He handled schedules, reports, travel arrangements, whatever Sienna needed. It wasn't his dream job, but it paid enough to keep Lila fed and safe. Most days that was enough. But today, something in the office felt wrong. People whispered, avoided his eyes. A few glanced at him with pity. His pulse thudded once, hard. At 9 a.m. sharp, Sienna's door opened. She stepped out, impeccably dressed in a tailored charcoal suit that did not hint at the chaos of last night. Her long, raven-dark hair fell sleekly past her shoulders. Her expression? When her eyes found Evan, her jaw tightened, almost imperceptible, but enough. Mr. Carter, she said, voice smooth as glass dragged across stone. My office. Now. The walk to her door was short but felt like crossing a battlefield. Inside, she didn't sit. She stood behind her desk as though bracing herself. Evan opened his mouth, maybe to greet her, maybe to acknowledge last night, but she cut him off. You're fired. The words hit him like a physical blow. His breath caught. His hand, still holding Lila's dinosaur print lunchbox he'd forgotten to drop in the car, tightened until his knuckles went white. Sienna, Ms. Astor, she corrected sharply. And I don't owe you an explanation. Her gaze wavered, only for a heartbeat, but she masked it quickly. Evan swallowed hard. Sienna, Ms. Astor, if this is about last night, I was trying to help you. Her eyes flickered, a storm briefly breaking through her practiced calm. You should have minded your business. He took a step forward. You were in danger. Get out, she said, voice cracking just slightly. The crack told him everything. She wasn't angry at him. She was terrified of something or someone, and firing him was a shield she didn't know how to hold properly. He didn't move. Not yet. Because the woman standing before him wasn't the flawless billionaire he'd worked for the past 3 years. She was someone shaken. Someone cornered. Someone scared. And yet she was pushing the one person who had protected her away. Finally, he set the lunchbox on her desk with a slow, deliberate motion. Fine, he said quietly. I'll leave. But you and I both know this isn't about me. Her jaw clenched. Her eyes glistened, barely. But she said nothing. So he walked out. Because what else could he do? The office door clicked shut behind him. And in the hollow echo of that sound, a truth settled over him. Whatever nightmare she was trapped in, firing him wasn't going to save her from it. What do you think? Is she firing him to protect herself, or to protect him? Drop your guess before we continue. The door closed behind Evan with a soft thud, but inside Sienna Astor's office, the sound struck like a gunshot. She exhaled, shallow, shaky, then pressed her palms against the glossy surface of her desk as if holding the world in place. Evan was gone. And she had sent him away. Exactly what she was told to do. Exactly what she hated herself for doing. Her phone buzzed once. A message. No name. Just a number she knew too well. Good. Now keep your mouth shut. Sienna's breath caught. She deleted the text instantly. Her hands trembled, barely, but enough that she curled them into fists until the shaking stopped. Or at least hid. Then she straightened her suit jacket, lifted her chin, and walked out of her office as though she hadn't just cut down the only man who had ever stepped between her and danger. The only man who saw her last night when she was too drunk to hide behind power. The only man who carried her. The only man who believed she was worth saving. She forced herself not to look toward the elevator he had taken. If she did, she'd run after him. And that wasn't allowed. Not anymore. Hours later, as Evan packed the contents of his desk into a cardboard box, flashes of last night kept pushing through the fog of shock. The club's bass thumping through the alley. Sienna stumbling out, alone, clutching her bag like a lifeline. 3 men circling her, their voices low and cruel. Her trying, and failing, to sound commanding. And Evan, who'd been driving by because he'd worked late again and needed caffeine to stay awake, had slammed on his brakes without thinking. He didn't see a billionaire. He saw a woman in trouble. He saw Sienna. The one who barked orders at him but occasionally whispered thank you. The one who pretended not to care but whose eyes always softened when she thought no one noticed. The one who carried an exhaustion deeper than wealth could hide. Get away from her, he had said, stepping between her and danger, voice steady even though fear clawed at him. The men laughed at him, one single dad in an old jacket, facing 3 broad-shouldered strangers. But Evan didn't move. He didn't blink. And when the largest man swung at him, Evan ducked, shoved Sienna behind him, and took the blow on his shoulder. Pain exploded down his arm. But he stood his ground. Something about that moment had made Sienna's drunken haze clear just enough to say his name. A whisper. A plea. Evan, don't leave. Those words still echoed in him. And now, just hours later, she had fired him without looking back. He closed the last box flaps. The room felt heavier. Smaller. His co-workers didn't approach. Fear wrapped the entire floor like fog. He carried the box to the elevator. The doors slid shut. And only then did he let himself breathe. The lobby was a different world. Clean lines, polished marble, soft ambient music. A place built by someone who wanted control over every detail. A place built by Sienna. Evan set his box down for a moment, rubbing the pounding ache in his shoulder from last night's fight. He hadn't told anyone. He didn't plan to. He just needed to find another job before rent came due. Before Lila noticed anything was wrong. That thought hit him the hardest. His little girl. His whole world. He couldn't fail her. He picked up the box again and headed toward the exit. But just before he reached the door, he felt someone watching him. Turned. And for a split second, less than a heartbeat, he saw her. Sienna. Standing at the top of the grand stairs, staring down at him. Her face unreadable from afar, but her posture, too still, too tense, betrayed her. Their eyes locked. His, wounded, shocked, searching. Hers, apologetic, terrified, and begging him silently to leave. She gave a tiny shake of her head. Not a dismissal. A warning. Evan's chest tightened. Because in that moment he understood something. She didn't fire him because she wanted to. She fired him because someone told her to. Someone dangerous. Someone watching. And now, they were watching him too. He forced himself to turn away and step through the revolving doors. Outside, the cold air slapped him awake. It wasn't just about a job anymore. Something dark was unfolding behind Sienna's icy mask. And without meaning to, he had stepped into the middle of it. The moment Evan disappeared from view, Sienna pressed her hand to the railing to steady herself. Her pulse hammered so violently she thought someone nearby would hear it. She shouldn't have looked at him. It was a mistake. It could cost them both. But seeing him, carrying that cardboard box like he carried everyone else's burdens, nearly shattered her. Her phone buzzed again. You hesitated. Her stomach churned. She typed back, he's gone. The pause. But, don't test us again. Her vision blurred. She blinked rapidly until the tears retreated. No one could know she was being threatened. No one could know she wasn't in control. No one could know she was terrified. Especially Evan. Because if he knew, he would try to protect her. He already had. And that was exactly what they warned her against. What do you think is threatening Sienna, and why would they want Evan gone? Drop your theory before we continue. Rain came in a thin silver mist that evening as Evan pulled into the school parking lot to pick up Lila. The gray sky pressed low, heavy with the same unsettled tension that had lived in his chest all day. When he stepped out of the car, Lila ran toward him with her usual enthusiasm, backpack bouncing, curls flying. "Daddy!" she shouted, crashing into him with a hug that nearly knocked him over. He lifted her easily, breathing in the scent of strawberry shampoo. For a moment, the rest of the world disappeared. "You okay, Ladybug?" he asked softly. She nodded, but her smile faltered. "Your face looks sad." He froze. Kids were observant in ways adults forgot how to be. "I'm just tired," he said. She pressed her small palm to his cheek. "It's okay. I'll make you pancakes tomorrow." A laugh escaped him, unexpected but needed. That might fix everything. But as they walked to the car, something prickled at the edge of his awareness. A black SUV sat idling 3 rows back. Tinted windows. Engine humming low. Too still. Too focused. He tried to ignore the icy ripple climbing his spine. Probably a parent. Probably nothing. He buckled Lila in, forcing a smile. "What did you draw today?" "A turtle wearing a crown." "Royal turtle. Classic." But as he pulled out of the parking lot, his eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. The SUV pulled out too. Slowly. Casually. But unmistakably following. His pulse doubled. He took a left instead of a right. The SUV followed. He took a right at the next light. It followed again. A cold wave swept through him. This wasn't random. This wasn't nothing. This was connected. To last night. To Sienna. To her fear. To the way she fired him like she was shoving him out of the line of fire. "Daddy?" Lila asked softly from the back seat. "You're squeezing the steering wheel too hard." He forced his fingers to loosen. "It's okay," he said. "Just thinking." He turned into a crowded grocery store parking lot, pulling between 2 cars. The SUV kept going, passing the exit, disappearing into traffic. Gone. But the message was clear. Someone was watching. Someone knew who he was. Someone wanted him scared. By the time he and Lila got home, the weight of the day had turned his body heavy, like he was moving through water. He reheated leftovers, helped Lila with homework, and read her 2 stories instead of 1. She fell asleep holding his hand. Only when she was deeply asleep did he ease his fingers free and step into the hallway. His phone buzzed. An unknown number. His stomach dropped. He opened the message. "Stay away from her." Then another. "This is your only warning." Evan's pulse throbbed in his ears. His hands trembled. He looked toward Lila's room, toward the innocent sleeping girl who depended on him for everything. They knew who he was. They followed him today. They were threatening him now. He should quit. He should stay away. He should protect Lila. But then he pictured Sienna standing on those marble stairs, staring down at him with fear trapped behind her eyes. Fear she wasn't allowed to speak. Fear someone else controlled. If he did nothing, who would help her? He sank onto the couch, head in his hands. He had no job. No power. No plan. But he had something the people threatening her didn't expect. He cared. And caring made him dangerous. Sienna sat alone in her penthouse with the city glowing beneath her like a circuit board. She hadn't changed out of her suit. She hadn't turned on music. She hadn't touched her dinner. Her fingers traced the edge of her wine glass, but she hadn't taken a sip. She couldn't. She didn't trust her hands not to shake. The door to the private elevator chimed. She stiffened. Footsteps approached, confident, deliberate. Her brother, Damon Astor, stepped into the room. Tall, coldly handsome, eyes as sharp as a scalpel. "Tell me you fired him," he said without greeting. Sienna swallowed. "I did." "Good." Damon walked to her bar cart, pouring bourbon into a crystal glass. "He's a liability. Soft men always are." She clenched her jaw. "Evan saved me last night." Damon's expression didn't shift. He interfered. "He kept 3 men from," she cut herself off, unable to say it aloud. "From making you look weak," Damon finished for her. "Which is exactly what he did tonight." Sienna's stomach twisted. Damon's voice was calm, too calm. It masked the violence simmering beneath. "He doesn't know anything," she insisted. "Yet." Damon sipped his drink. "But you do. Which is why we cannot afford loose ends." Sienna's breath hitched. Evan wasn't a loose end. Evan was good, steady. Someone she trusted despite herself. Someone she cared about more than she should. Damon set his glass down with a soft click. "You looked at him today." Her blood ran cold. "You hesitated," he said. "I did not," she lied. Damon stepped close enough that she had to tilt her chin upward to meet his gaze. "Don't test me, Sienna." Her heart hammered. "If he contacts you again," Damon's voice dropped to a whisper, lethal as a blade, "I will handle it myself." The unspoken meaning struck like ice. "And Evan won't survive that." Sienna forced her breaths to slow. "Controlled. Controlled. Controlled." "I understand," she said quietly. Damon didn't look convinced. But after a moment, he walked toward the elevator. Just before the doors closed, he added, "You're the CEO because I allow you to be. Don't make me reconsider." The doors slid shut. Sienna collapsed into her chair. Her chest ached. Her eyes burned. And for the first time since she inherited Asteris, she felt truly trapped. She wanted to call Evan. To warn him. But Damon would know. Damon always knew. So she did nothing. Because doing something might kill the only man who had ever protected her. Evan stared at the text. He should back off. He should focus on Lila. He should choose safety. But his gut screamed something Sienna didn't tell him. Something she couldn't tell him. And the more he thought about the SUV, the threats, the fear in her eyes, the more one truth solidified. Sienna Astor was in danger. And Evan Carter wasn't the kind of man who walked away. He grabbed his phone. He typed one message. "I know you're not okay. Tell me what's going on." He hesitated. Then hit send. The message delivered. 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. Evan held his breath. If you were Sienna, would you answer Evan's message? Or protect him by staying silent? The typing bubbles blinked on Evan's screen like a heartbeat. Appearing. Disappearing. Appearing again. And then, a message finally appeared. "Evan, please. Stop." Just 2 words, but they carried the weight of a woman drowning. He typed back immediately. "I'm not abandoning you. Tell me what's happening." The bubbles flickered again and vanished. No answer. Silence. A silence that said everything. She was scared. She was watching her every step. Someone else was watching too. And Evan could no longer pretend any of this was safe. He grabbed his coat and moved to the door. But before he could reach the handle, a loud bang shook the apartment. Someone pounding on the front door. 3 heavy, deliberate knocks. Not a neighbor. Not a mistake. The threat. Evan froze, every muscle tensing. He stepped quietly to Lila's room. She was still asleep, curled around her stuffed rabbit. He moved back toward the living room. Another knock. Harder this time. Then a voice. Evan Carter. Open the door. Now. Cold. Controlled. Just like Damon asked her. Evan's pulse thudded. His shoulder throbbed where he'd taken the punch last night. He slipped silently to the kitchen and grabbed the only thing he had, a wooden rolling pin. The knocking stopped. Silence stretched. Then, the doorknob turned. They were trying to get in. Evan stepped forward, gripping the rolling pin hard enough his fingers shook. The door cracked open. A man in a sleek black suit stepped into the apartment, unfazed by the fact that he was breaking into a single dad's home like it was business as usual. His expression was flat. Deadly. A professional. Mr. Carter, the man said, scanning the apartment with slow, calculated precision. We need to talk. A second man stepped inside behind him. Bigger. Broader. Closing the door quietly behind them. Evan didn't back away. You can talk from where you're standing, he said. The first man's eyebrow twitched. Unimpressed, but interested. Ms. Astor's life is complicated. You inserted yourself into a situation you don't understand. I protected her. Irrelevant, the man said. What matters is she does not require your protection, nor your communication. The cold finality in his tone made something in Evan ignite. Is this Damon? Evan asked. The man's jaw tightened just so. You will delete her number. You will never contact her again. And if you care about your daughter... Evan stepped forward. Don't you say her name. The man didn't flinch. Then cooperate, he said. And this ends now. Evan's grip tightened around the rolling pin. He wasn't a fighter. Not really. But he'd gone against 3 men last night without thinking. And now? Now they were in his home. Near his sleeping daughter. Fear turned to steel. She's in danger, isn't she? Evan said. That's why you're here. That's why she fired me. She's not safe. The man's expression didn't change, but something flickered. Annoyance. Or confirmation. You will stay out of it, he repeated. And if I don't? Evan asked quietly. The man's eyes hardened. Then you won't see your daughter grow up. That did it. Evan swung. The wooden rolling pin cracked against the man's wrist, sending his gun skidding across the floor. The second man lunged forward, but Evan's adrenaline surged. He shoved the man's shoulder, nailing him back against the wall. The first man cursed, grabbing for Evan, but Evan was faster. He ducked, grabbed his keys and phone off the counter, and sprinted toward the hallway. Lila, he hissed as he burst into her room. She jolted awake, bleary-eyed. Daddy. No time, Ladybug. We're going somewhere safe. He scooped her into his arms, wrapping her in her blanket, and ran to the back fire escape door. Thank God the old apartment still had one. Behind him, the men shouted. He burst into the night, rain hitting his face like needles, and raced down the stairs 2 at a time. At the bottom, he dashed to his car, flung the door open, buckled Lila in with shaking hands, and peeled out of the lot as the apartment door burst open behind him. He didn't look back. He couldn't. Lila trembled in her seat. Daddy, what's happening? He reached back and squeezed her knee gently, voice shaking. Someone's trying to hurt Miss Sienna. And they don't want us helping her. She swallowed hard. Her small voice quivered. Are we going to be okay? Evan met her eyes through the mirror. His fear softened. Yes, he said. Because I'm going to fix this. And for the first time that day, he believed it. Sienna sat on her penthouse floor, phone in her hand, shaking uncontrollably. A new message glowed on the screen. From Damon. I warned you. Her breath caught. She dialed Evan's number instantly, hands trembling, heart pounding, but the call went straight to voicemail. No, she whispered. No. She tried again. Voicemail. A third time. Voicemail. Her heart twisted. Something had happened. And it was her fault. The walls of the penthouse seemed to close in around her as she whispered the truth she could no longer deny. I need him. And she wasn't sure he was still safe. Rain hammered the windshield as Evan drove, gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles whitened. Lila was curled in the back seat, wrapped in her blanket-like armor, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Her wide, frightened eyes reflected the passing streetlights. Daddy, where are we going? Somewhere safe, Evan said softly. But he had no plan. No destination. Only one truth. He couldn't protect Sienna from a distance. And he couldn't protect Lila if he didn't end this. His phone buzzed on the console. A known number. He hesitated, then answered. Evan. Her voice was small. Shaking. Terrified. Sienna. Relief and anger collided in his chest. Sienna? Are you okay? What the hell is? Evan, I'm so sorry. Her breath hitched like she'd been crying. I didn't want any of this to touch you. Or Lila. Or your job. Please, just listen. You need to stay away from me. For your safety. For your daughters. Too late, he said. They already found us. She inhaled sharply, a sound of pure dread. Who? Your brother's men. Silence. A silence laced with guilt so heavy he could feel it through the phone. It's all my fault, she whispered. I should have stayed away from you. I should have. Sienna, he cut in. Tell me the truth. And finally, she did. Everything poured out in a trembling rush. Her controlling brother Damon. The inheritance he wanted to isolate her from. The boardroom coup he was planning. Her drunk incident at the nightclub being a setup. Her fear. Her loneliness. Her guilt for dragging Evan into it. And then, her voice broke completely. You were the first person who ever protected me just because you cared. And I paid you back by ruining your life. The words hit Evan like a fist. Sienna, you didn't ruin my life. Yes, I did, she sobbed. You lost your job. Men broke into your home. Your daughter was in danger because of me. Sienna. His voice softened. Look at what I risked tonight, and tell me that wasn't my choice. She went silent, breathing hard, hope hiding underneath the fear. A truck splashed by on the wet road. Lila sniffled in the back seat. Evan looked at her, then back through the windshield. He couldn't keep running. Not from danger. Not from the truth. Sienna, where are you? My penthouse. Her voice trembled. Damon's on his way here. With his lawyers. With security. I don't know what he'll do this time. Stay where you are, Evan said. I'm coming. Evan, no. Please. If he sees you, let him. He hung up before she could argue. Because this wasn't just about protecting her. It was about ending this. For all of them. Sienna paced the living room like a ghost trapped in a gilded cage. Her penthouse, usually pristine, looked chaotic. Papers scattered. A broken glass on the floor. The security panel on the wall blinking red. She was shaking. Not because she was weak. Because she was done being controlled. And tonight everything was crashing down at once. The elevator chimed. Her heart lurched. Footsteps approached. Not Damon's heavy, self-important stride. Lighter. Faster. Familiar. When she turned, Evan stood there. Soaked, bruised, breathing hard. And holding his daughter's hand. Lila blinked up at Sienna shyly. Hi, Miss Sienna. Sienna covered her mouth as tears filled her eyes. You brought her? She whispered. I'm done hiding, Evan said softly. We end this together. Before she could respond, another elevator chimed. A different stride approached. Slow. Commanding. Threatening. Damon asked her. 2 more security men flanked him. Sienna instinctively stepped back, but Evan stepped forward. Protecting her. Damon's cold eyes flicked to Evan, then to Lila, then back to his sister. Well, Damon said lightly, isn't this cute? Leave them alone, Sienna said, her voice shaking but steady. That depends entirely, Damon said, on what your boyfriend here decides. Evan stiffened. He's not, Sienna began. Doesn't matter. Damon waved a dismissive hand. He interfered in Astor family business. That makes him a liability. Evan stepped forward again, jaw clenched. I'm not afraid of you. Damon's smile was thin and poisonous. You should be. He snapped his fingers. One guard stepped toward Evan. Lila whimpered and clutched his arm. That was enough. Evan moved in front of his daughter. You go through me. The guard took another step. And then something unexpected happened. Sienna walked between them. Her knees were shaking, but her chin was high. Touch him, she said, and I will go to the press with everything. Damon's eyes darkened. You wouldn't dare. Oh, I would, she said. I'm done being afraid of you. Done letting you control me. You built this company on our father's legacy. But you built your life on mine. Damon's jaw tightened. Sienna continued, voice rising with every word. I have emails, documents, evidence, and a very expensive PR team on speed dial. If you ever come near Evan or his daughter again, I will burn your empire to the ground. The room froze. Rain battered the penthouse windows. Evan stared at her, not at the woman who needed rescuing, but at the one who could fight her own battles. Damon's nostrils flared. You're making a mistake, Sienna. No, she said calmly. I'm finally making a choice. Damon nodded once, curt, furious, and motioned for his men. Let's go. But before stepping into the elevator, he turned back. This isn't over. Sienna lifted her chin. Yes, it is. The doors slid shut. Silence filled the room. Sienna's knees gave out. Evan caught her before she hit the floor. She clutched his shirt, shaking. I thought he'd hurt you, she whispered. I thought I'd lose you both. Evan rested his forehead against hers. You're not losing us, he said softly. Not now. Not ever. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Lila toddled forward, wrapping her small arms around both adults in an awkward hug. The three of them stayed like that, broken pieces fitting together, as the storm outside finally began to ease. 1 week later, Sienna stepped into a boardroom full of men who once dismissed her. And sitting in the front row, quiet but unshakably proud, was Evan. With Lila drawing pictures beside him. Sienna smoothed her blazer, took a breath, and said, Gentlemen, let's begin. I believe there are going to be some changes around here. Because this time, she wasn't facing the world alone. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.